Good morning. Apologies for being a little behind this morning. My OBS setup is completely foobarred from yesterday trying to fiddle with it. So yeah, we've had some technical difficulties this morning, but we're here. We made it, which is what is the most important. All right. Well, let's just jump right into it, should we? Yeah? I think that would be a good plan. I should probably pin a message. Good morning, Rampla. Hello, Artwork Studios. Good morning, Sean. Hello, Pranesh. How are you? How are y'all doing? Having a good morning? Having a good day, I guess? Some of you might already be ahead of me. Might not be morning for you guys. Hope you all are doing well. I just revived my Artwork Studios channel to be not so dead. Well, awesome, man. Go for it, dude. Go for it. Do whatever you want to do. Let's go. All right, we got a little bit of refactoring to do this morning. So we implemented the Stripe stuff yesterday, at least the server side part of it, or at least part of the server side part of it. So we need to refactor some of this. Let's see. I'm just gonna put this in a payments namespace. And I'm gonna do let's see. There's a couple different ways we could do this, but I think the way I'm gonna do it is I'm gonna do create payment. Maybe like this. Some endpoints. And then I'm gonna have another one that's just Stripe stuff. Almost 150 subs, and I'm surprised the channel made it this long without controversy. Well, that's awesome, dude. 150 subs, that's way more than zero. Way more than zero. That's awesome. That's not quite, I think, what I want. It's not, it's not quite what I want. Hey, Arvin. Good morning. How are you? Okay, guess what? What, Arvin? Hold on. Let me guess. Your currency. Your currency was deval. Okay, that's. I said today our national currency fell 2.5%. Yet yesterday we closed it with 5.5% fall. Today it has fallen 3.7%. Arvin, I hate this for you. I hate this for you, man. But this sucks. And I'm sorry there's nothing I can do about it. This doesn't need to be a static class. Let's see. It's falling with x to the x. What? X to the x ratio? Well, I'm sorry, man. It really freaking sucks. Hang on. I don't understand why this isn't working. Should be. It's like it doesn't recognize that this is a namespace. But I don't know why. Huh. Maybe Visual Studio Code will help me figure out what the problem is. It's not. See, what the heck? It's like this file's broken or something. But if I do it over here, it picks up on the namespace. Gonna play Damsel Pump It Up on full volume. Dollar Gold ain't going to go up by itself. It need a good bass to go along with it. Huh. Well, Arvin, I'm sorry that's happened to you, man. I wish I had nicer or more comforting or better words to say to you, but I don't even know what to say. Other than that, really sucks. Type or namespace definition or end of file expected. What am I doing wrong? I don't understand what I'm doing wrong. All I did was stick a namespace at the top of the file and it broke everything. Well, this is frustrating. That's really frustrating. I don't understand. Let's see. I don't understand. Man, that's crazy. That's crazy, Arvin. Maybe you should move, dude. Have you ever thought about immigrating from Iran? Maybe you should get out of there. Maybe that's not the place to be. Alright, I'm gonna do something really quick. I'm just going to delete all of this code. And I'm gonna add a namespace here that's grounds for support.server. And then I'm just gonna try to do console.writeLine. Okay, so something is foobarred here, because this is about as simple as it gets from a code perspective. So what has happened? See, I have my projects here. I'm so freaking stumped, and it's really frustrating. Because it's just slowing me down, and this is like the stupidest fucking thing ever. I'm gonna crash out. No, I'm fine. I'm shorting my country right now. Gonna win big. How do you short a country? I mean, I've heard of shorting a stock, but I've never heard of shorting a country. How do you do that? Let's see. What SDK am I on? .NET. List SDKs. Am I still on the release candidate? Let's see. Let's do Wingit, which I guess the release candidate's actually probably the same as the. Let's see. What do I want to search for? .NET. It's probably the same thing as their actual release version at this point. Let's see, .NET. There's the preview, I think. Copilot P. Got too many windows open. My net worth is like $50. That sucks. I mean, net worth is not everything, but yeah, $50 net worth kind of sucks. But I want to know, joking, like, how am I going to immigrate if I'm already broke? Oh, well, yeah, that's a good point. I mean, it does cost money to do that kind of stuff. But I was just thinking maybe that's what you need to be thinking if you're really frustrated with living in a place that devalues the currency so much. Maybe that's the best option you got, you know? I just hate that you feel frustrated all the time, you know? I hate that for you. So Winget, SDK, dot 10. Sorry, I gotta make this bigger for a sec. Winget install 10. See Artwork Studios. Have a good day, man. Thanks for hanging out with us. Appreciate ya. Oh, whoops. I guess I can't move that window off. See, that's 10. And then I guess I'll uninstall the preview because the preview is the release candidate. So I guess I'll uninstall that and just wait till they get 11 out. That's the preview. Arvin, I'm not frustrated, by the way. Oh, well, you could have fooled me. Whenever you show up in chat and you're complaining about the inflation, my perception of you is that you're frustrated about the currency causing a devaluation of your buying power. Dude, this is taking forever to install. It's going so freaking slow. Well, chat, I guess we'll just sit here and catch up on the current events. I don't honestly know why that's taking so long. I'm really frustrated by the fact that the namespace thing isn't working. I literally just added a namespace and it broke all my code. Let's see. Let's answer some YouTube comments while we're at it, yeah? My net worth is like a to-do list in Rust. What does that mean? Nice cut, bro. Oh, thank you very much, Drecker. You like that? Little Grinchy action? Yeah, you guys like that? Let's see. What PowerShell setup is this? This is using my posh. This is similar to my ZSH, but for us PowerShell users, you can find it here at myposh.dev. at least it's memory safe. That's what I don't understand. What's the to do? I don't understand what my net worth is like a to-do list. What does that mean? Did that finish installing? Finished installing. Okay. So now let's do Amba. Hi, sorry I'm late today. May I know what you guys are discussing? Nothing in particular at the moment. We're just kind of shooting the shit. I've been crashing out because for whatever reason, I can't get my IntelliSense or my LSP to work properly in Visual Studio Code or NeoVim for my C# code. So I've been kind of frustrated by that. But other than that, we talked about Arvin's currency being devalued in his country. We talked about Artwork Studio reviving his channel. What else? Yeah, that's about it. He's kind of been all over the place this morning, like usual. Like usual. Let's see, .NET, or not .NET, Winget. We want to uninstall the preview. Not the biggest fan of .NET. Well, that's too bad, Brian, because I love .NET. Love .NET, love C#. I think it's probably the #1 development platform, I think, particularly for back-end development. And so if I could convince more people to use it, I would. That's actually one of my kind of pet projects, is I hope I can convince more people to give .NET and C# a try. I previously worked on migrating from framework to core, and that was not the most fun time. Oh, yeah, I wasn't around for the, well, I started programming when .NET Core 3 came out. But I understand there was a lot of pain going from framework to 1, and then there was a lot of pain going from core to 1, or core 1 to core 2, and core 2 to core 3. Like, they broke a lot of people early on, I guess, when they were doing a lot of those releases. But that was damn near 10 years ago now. So it's it's a pretty sweet platform now. I mean, obviously, if you're on .NET Framework, like, well, you're kind of stuck. You're kind of stuck dealing with what you're dealing with. MD, does that mean NeoVim config rewrite video? No, I don't know what exactly it is. That's why I'm screwing with my .NET SDKs to see if I can figure out what's happening. So I'm going to uninstall the release candidate SDK. Let's see. Uninstall Microsoft.NET SDK preview. Yeah, I want to uninstall this guy. But yeah, I don't care. That's the thing. I said that the other day. Is like, I just don't carry some of those scars. Let's see. This says no installed package found matching criteria. How is that possible? It's right there. Is there a way? Can I do? Let's see. Winget uninstall --ID. Oh my goodness, that's so frustrating. .NET Core is not bad. Yeah, I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion. I think .NET Core is awesome. Milton, what is the model of your camera? So I've had this camera for a long time now. It's nothing fancy. I bought it originally back in the day when I was doing a lot of vlogs and I was making a lot of fitness content on the YouTubes. It's a A6500 or Sony Alpha 6500, I think is the model. So it's an older camera, but it works fine for what I need. Yeah, I think 6500. That's a camera, right? Yeah, this guy. Although I don't remember it being so expensive when I bought it. Maybe that's the tariffs. I don't know. But yeah, that's the camera I use. Let's see. What is hello Oblivious, good to see you. Yeah, my weekend's been going well. My mom and my stepdad are in town, so they're visiting for Christmas. So yeah, we're doing good. Let's see, winget uninstall .NET preview. I don't know why. Anybody ever had issues like this before? It says it's installed, but then it says it's not there. Oh, interesting. .NET list SDKs. Winget list. Huh. So how do I... So it's not installed with Winget. Okay, so Winget... So that makes sense why Winget wouldn't let me install it. So why is it still listed here as an installed SDK? CD... CDC... Program files... cd.net... I guess it really wasn't an issue. It was just more of a me thing. Okay, .NET -- help. Let's see, .NET. Hey, just saw your LinkedIn profile. Food scientist to QA. That's crazy. How is it going? Also, big fan of Ajinomoto. Are you really a big fan of Ajinomoto? That's awesome. You're like the first person I've met online that has known who Ajinomoto is. It's a pretty big company in Japan. Like, it's a really well known company in Japan, and I think in Southeast Asia in general, just in that area of the world. But here in the United States, people don't really know it as much. Yeah, it's a big company. Uh, it was a crazy career transition. Yeah, it was. I actually never intended to be a food scientist. I went to school originally for biochemistry because I thought I was gonna be a doctor. And then halfway through, not halfway, I was probably a junior in college, and I had spent the last couple years working as a medical scribe in the emergency room, and I just kind of decided, I don't think I have the compassion to be a good doctor. I just thought, I'm not going to be um, removed SDK. I said I'm just not going to, I think I need to have a servant heart to be a good doctor, and I don't think I have that. And so I decided, well, I'm not going to do that. And so then I ended up looking for jobs as a scientist with my degree, and I landed there at Ajinomoto, and it was pretty great. It was a pretty great experience. The hours were just crazy, The hours were all over the place, and I had kids, and so I wanted something that was more like, basically I was looking for careers or jobs that had more likelihood of being able to work from home and have more like standard kind of banking business hours type of thing. So I ended up trying to get a job at a technology company, and I was able to make that happen. And then as I got into the technology company, I was able to kind of like work my way over into my current role. All right, I'm not gonna fuss about this anymore. So let's go home. Drecker, are you planning to change jobs? No, I'm not. No, I really like my job. Um, I like the people I work with. I particularly like the company I work for, you know? Like they treat me well and they've been good to me and my family and they've given me lots of opportunities to grow. Um, and I kind of get the best of both worlds, you know, because I get to do all the development stuff I want outside of work and I still get to participate in the development and the testing of the software at work. And so I kind of, you know, I get the best of both worlds. Let's see, do that. And then let's do .NET -- version, just make sure that actually worked. Well, fantastic. And then let's do a quick, let's see, get status. Let's really quick, let's just reset all this. Get reset, or no, get stash drop. There we go. Let's do .NET build. So it definitely builds, but for whatever reason, when I try to add a namespace, the whole thing blows up. Brian, what tech stack do you use at place of work? So I won't go into too much detail because I'm not really sure how much I'm allowed to or supposed to share, you know? I'll just share what I know has ever been said publicly. But which I should say, nothing I do on this stream has anything to do with work or my employer. None of my opinions. All the disclaimers that should go here right now, insert them right here. We are primarily a .NET shop. We primarily use so my company was originally founded and built in 2011, 2012. So you got to kind of project yourself back in time to what web development looked like then, right? So ASP.NET, jQuery, Razor Pages, framework, right? If that kind of gives you an idea. So when you say, so Brian, when you say I went through the pain of migrating framework to core, and you're not a big fan of .NET, I can totally empathize why you would have those feelings. See you, Arvin. Have a good day, man. Yeah, I can totally empathize with your feelings there. But modern .NET is kick-ass, in my opinion. Modern .NET is great. I understand if people carry with them the scars of .NET past, though. I understand. Sounds cool. I love ramen, so I know about Ajinomoto. Yeah, Ajinomoto's big claim to fame is MSG. So the brothers, I think it was two brothers. The one was a scientist, I believe, that first synthesized MSG, and Ajinomoto was the company they used to actually commercialize the product. And now they're in everything. Now they're a huge conglomerate, you know, huge conglomerate. See this? Why is that breaking that? I don't understand. I feel crazy. That makes me feel crazy. What pains me the most is Windows. Really? You don't like Windows? I mean, it has its quirks and it definitely has had its pain points over the years, but I've been developing on Windows 11 for almost 4 years now, 5 years now, and it works just fine for me. Let's see. As a QA, if you were interviewing a front-end software engineer, what questions would you ask the interviewer? So from a QA, because you're asking from a QA perspective, not a developer's perspective. I think when I'm interviewing people, there's kind of two things I'm most concerned with. I'm most concerned with, is this person like a weirdo? like the number one thing I'm trying to figure out in an interview, like out the gate, is I'm trying to figure out, is this person someone I want to work with? That's the first thing I'm trying to figure out. What questions I would ask to elucidate that would probably be, tell me about a time you had a difficult problem and how you went about solving it. That would probably be the first one. I'd like to hear how you approach problem solving, because a big part of what we do at work is work together on difficult, complex problems. Let's see, what else? I'd probably, from a I guess more of a technical perspective, I guess I would probably ask you whether you think quality is a part of your job. Um, Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else I'd ask from a QA perspective. I mean, from the dev side, it's kind of interesting because, well, at least at where I'm at, from a QA perspective, from a dev side, I'm not really in charge of what developers do, you know? That's a whole separate team. So like I mean, I would love to find out like people's thoughts on like, do you do test driven development? Do you know how to write unit tests? Do you understand how to write integration tests? What's mocking? Like, I would love to ask all those questions, but I'm not really in charge of whether or not people do that kind of stuff where I'm at. Let's see, directors. Do you prefer to work with people same as your age, or does it matter? It doesn't matter to me. I mean, I've been the youngest person in the workplace, and now I'm kind of middle of the road. There's people in the workplace that are older than me and younger than me, so now I'm kind of experiencing both sides of it. Um, I just want to work with like people who are kind and generous human beings who aren't assholes, you know? Like people who are focused on doing the work and having fun doing the work. That's kind of the folks I'd like to work with. Whether they're 60 or 20, it doesn't really matter too much to me. Drecker, Windows is better for development and gaming. I've definitely heard people say Windows is better for gaming, but you're the first person in my chat that said Windows is better for development. Most people are always like, you need to try Linux. Switch to Linux. Why not Linux? That's what most people say in my chat. Is anything? What web dev stack are you using? So I'm using .NET on the back end and React for the front end is what I'm using. Luke Smithers, are you on the QA side? Or at work I am, yeah. So if you guys ever want to creep on my current professional situation, you can find my LinkedIn. I just put that in the chat, linkedin.stephenfreeborn.com. You're welcome to creep on that over there, and you're welcome to send me a connection if you'd like to connect. I'm pretty much an open book though on that stuff. Obviously, I try to be respectful of the fact that like work is work and this is my personal stuff on this, my YouTube stuff. So I try not to mix those two worlds too much, but I'm a fairly open book about, my work background and thoughts and on that kind of stuff. All right, what the heck am I trying to do here? Luke Smithers, ooh, Playwright. I do a fair bit of that. Do you really? Nice. Yeah, Playwright's awesome. I mean, if in 2025, if you're using anything other than Playwright for browser automation, yeah, I think you've taken a wrong turn somewhere. Let's see, directors. I mean, you can use WSL instead of dual booting to other OS. Yes. So I have WSL set up, and I have I have VPSs that are Ubuntu boxes. Like all my stuff is hosted on Ubuntu server. I just don't want to use. At this point in time, I just have decided I don't want to use that as my primary like daily driver OS. But a lot of people think that is a very poor decision on my part, which is fine. We're all entitled to use the tools we want to use. Thoughts on Playwright components? Oh, so I'm guessing you're talking about component testing, Luke. Is that what you're talking about? Which it was in experimental for quite a long time. It may actually still be. Yeah, it's still. As you can tell, it's not super important. I think this is what you're talking about, right? If it was me, honestly, I probably wouldn't use Playwright for testing components like this. Vitest has a pretty good um, browser mode now that you can use when you're testing components. That I would probably use this if it was me. Yeah, yeah, I would actually use this if it was me. This actually has a wrapper for Playwright essentially, but this is what I would use if I wanted to test components in isolation like that, but still have it kind of run in the browser, so to speak. And then I would use Playwright just for doing end-to-end. I mean, I think the fact that Playwright's component testing has been experimental for like 2 years now or more is a good indication that it's just not getting a lot of love from that team, which is fine. I mean, I'm not saying they need to give it a lot of love. But yeah, Playwright almost the great thing about Playwright is Playwright makes it so easy to write end-to-end automation. It's almost no longer valid to like say end-to-end automation is too difficult. We have had some use cases at work for slightly complex WYSIWYG editors where we wanted Playwright components. Yeah, that's fair. I think I would still probably use Vitest as browser mode. Good morning, Danny. How are you doing? We're struggling to get anything working this morning, so I hope you're having a better morning than I am. Let's see, .NET new console, or not, let's do .NET new web API test. Is .NET Aspire good for distributed apps? .NET Aspire is freaking baller. Yeah, .NET Aspire is awesome. Like if you haven't taken it for a test drive, you really should. Even if you're not a .NET person, like if you're a Python JavaScript person or a Go JavaScript person, it is awesome. It is awesome. If you ever have an application where you have a separate front and back in a database, Aspire is worth it. Even just for that small of a distributed app, the Aspire is wonderful because it gives you a single point of entry locally for local development where you can basically run the Aspire host. It will run your front end, run your back end, run your database. Not only that, but it'll let you encode the setup and configuration of all that local dev environment in code. It's real, and you get open telemetry support out of the box. You get a really nice, pretty dashboard. You can manage all those resources from the dashboard. I think Aspire might be a behemoth from a development toolchain perspective. Like I think that's why the team rebranded from .NET Aspire to just Aspire, because I think Aspire will end up being kind of a polyglot tool chain for local development and then probably eventually for actually deploying. So I think that was a really good move for them to try to disconnect themselves from .NET, because .NET just has as we talked about this morning, .NET has just so much fucking baggage with it, right? So the minute you tie your name to it, you get all the wonderful baggage too. Currently they are in Vitest, yeah. Huh. See, I'm interested to see why, I'm interested to see why you feel like you need to move them to Playwright though, from Vitest. Good morning, Bob. Still fighting with Stripe's weird C# at lib? No, this morning what we're fighting for, I've never had this issue before. What we're fighting this morning is whenever I try to add a namespace to my, it's the silliest thing. I'll show you. Here's my demo. Watch. So if I go into program.cs, I'll let the LSP attach first. But if I let the LSP, Luke, thanks for connecting with me on LinkedIn, man. I appreciate that. Felix, I don't know which one is Felix, but thanks for connecting with me on LinkedIn. Appreciate you guys. When I try to add a namespace up here, namespace, if I do grounds for support dot server like this, it breaks everything. I've never seen this before. And I don't know why that's happening. And that's why I was trying to set up a new test project to see if that happens in other code that I have on my machine. We prefer Anon, thanks for subscribing. We prefer the dev experience of Playwright for writing tests. Oh, that's fair. Okay, that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, the dev experience of Playwright is fan-freaking-tastic. Huge Playwright fan. I will shill for Playwright. I will shill for Free Code Camp, and I will shill for Playwright. I have a huge set of automated tests that I maintain at work, and we have the software we build at work is very no code, low code. So everything is sort of user-defined schemas. Users can basically build software on top of our software, which means our end-to-end automations tend to be really complex user workflows with lots of kind of ever-growing dependencies where, in order to use one feature, you have to also be able to use another feature. And so the end-to-end automation becomes rather complex, and Playwright, though, makes orchestrating all that very convenient and very easy to do, which I really, really appreciate. I tried initially to do it with Selenium, and then I tried Cypress, and then somehow I ended up on, I can't remember how I found out about Playwright. But yeah, I'm so happy I did find out about it, and I'm so happy that I chose that as the technology to use, because I think if I had chosen Selenium, my life would be way more difficult. Okay, so this is not a me thing. This is a Steven's machine is fucked up thing, because this is a brand new project. I don't know what to do about this. Let's see what happens in Visual Studio Code. Yeah, Playwright has given us a lot of peace of mind. Yeah, it really has. And Playwright, and that's why I say there's really no reason not to do end-to-end testing when you have a tool like that, right? Because in the past, the thing with end-to-end tests was everyone would complain about them being brittle and being too difficult to maintain, too difficult to write, right? And now with a tool like that, you really don't have that excuse anymore. Let's see, a namespace cannot directly contain members such as fields, methods, or statements. So are you saying that I can't put a namespace here? Okay, so let me try to put a namespace over here. And let's do test service.cs. And let's do namespace is going to be test API.services. Okay, so that worked. All right, so it must be something about my code in my other project, right? Namespace. Raysana, thanks for subscribing, man. Appreciate it. Grounds for support. Okay, that didn't break that. Using grounds server payments endpoints. App.map. Oh, god dang it. This is why you shouldn't use Copilot. This is the wrong, this web application app. Dude, that's frustrating. This returns a route handler builder. That's why it was all screwed up. That's so annoying. Well, sorry guys. It's early. I haven't had enough coffee. I'm going to blame it on that. I'm going to blame it on that. Oh, whoops. I need to close it. Which AI do you F with for coding? I usually just use Copilot Creatives. I use Copilot and Gemini. I don't really use the CLI too much. I use Copilot for tab completion. I use Copilot a little bit in agent mode in Visual Studio. And that's really my primary uses of it. I sometimes will use Gemini CLI, sometimes will use Copilot CLI, but I'm just not I don't have a ton of fun using the agents to write code. I don't find it particularly yeah, I don't find it particularly enjoyable. Like, I always walk away from coding with AI and feel like, well, that wasn't as much fun. So I typically just use it to help me write code when I don't feel like doing all the boilerplate. Or if I can't figure something out, right, I'll be like, hey, how would you do this? Or like, what would be your approach here? I'll do that quite a bit. Yeah, playwright has given throw it in the trash, go back to go. No. No, that was all my fault. That's because I tab completed with Copilot and then I didn't read what Copilot had completed. And so Copilot did not implement that method, that static extension method the way I thought it had. So that's my me fault. Let's see. Noticeable reduction in prod issues since introducing Playwright. That's awesome, Luke. I guess top level statement's supposed to be outside namespace because I believe it wraps under the program class. Yeah, you're 100% right, Brian. You can't put namespace in top level statements. Luke, dang, you stream super early. Perfect time for Australians to watch. I do stream super early, yeah. So I'm a 32-year-old dad of 2, Luke, which is why I stream so early, because that's early in the morning is kind of the best time for me to get like large chunks of uninterrupted time. And that's why it works out that way. Alright, so we're gonna come down here, and I'm actually gonna put this inside this class. This is gonna be internal. I'm actually going to rename this to request. And then here in my program CS, we can remove this guy. And then what I'd like to do What I'd like to do is I'd like to put this guy over here. Namespace is server.payments.stripe. And then we're also going to put that over here. I'm just doing some refactoring from yesterday is basically what I'm doing right now. Organizing things. Right, nice. That's understandable. Yeah. Yeah, I know that sucks for some people because here in the United States it's super early to catch my stream. You gotta get up super early to get here, but I appreciate those who try to make it. Alright, we're gonna put this in a separate class. So stripe options.cs. We're gonna put all this over here. AI sabotage. Oh, you're saying because Copilot auto completed that method. Yeah, I think that was more of my me too early in the morning, not realizing what I was doing wrong type of thing. Not enough caffeine too early in the morning. This is a dangerous combination. It's already 5:30. It's actually almost time for another cup of coffee. All right, we got our stuff organized a little bit here. And this guy. Can remove these unnecessary usings. And then we just need to bring this guy into here. I'm actually going to call this, what am I going to call this? An intent? No, this actually should just be the response. So we're going to do this. Wonderful. Delete this. All right, that's much nicer. Okay, so now we're going to move to the front end and actually handle this response on the front end. So we have our working version of this. Let's go ahead and test it really quick. So let's cd into this. We'll do .NET watch. And then we'll just give Postman a try. Hold on. Uh-oh. The type or namespace intent could not be found. Uh-oh. What have I broken? What line was that? Stripe service error CS0246. Oh, yeah, that doesn't exist. So we do need an intent. However, I don't really want namespace. I'm not totally thrilled about the client's secret living there. But that'll work for now. Alright, let's give this a restart. Good morning, MR Group Online. How's Brazil this morning? I hope you're doing well. We had a little bit of a struggle getting started today, but we're starting to make progress after about an hour into the stream. Let's just give this a try. There we go. Okay, so we're creating payments, or we're creating payment intents. So now what we want to do is we want to handle that on the front end. So we have to go to the client, and on the front end, we actually need to, whenever we submit this form, instead of just alerting, right? Instead of just alerting, we actually need to make a request to the backend. And then we need to get the client secret back, and then we need to handle that by initializing the Stripe elements. Or by initializing a Stripe element. So this is where we have to go here. This is the documentation from Stripe that I've been using. Alright, so we basically have to do this. So it looks like they have the secret in state in their app, which is fine. Now, how do we initialize the Stripe on the front end? So we have elements and we have load Stripe. And so it looks like we call load Stripe outside the body of our component. And then, dude, this website is burning my eyes. It's literally burning my eyes. And then okay. All right. So let me think through this for a second. So basically what we want to happen is when we actually load our app, we're going to have the form present, but that form is not what they're going to use to check out. So what we need to do is grounds. Now what we need to do npm run dev. Need to go here. Localhost. What do you use for your knots? For notes, you mean? For notes, is that what you mean? What? This should be trusted. Oh, I bet I actually haven't trusted the cert. Dang it. .NET dev cert http clean. There's a dev certs, I think is the command. Yeah. And then it's HTTPS. And then I think it's clean and then trust, I think is how we have to do this. So let's do check. The following certificates were found, but none of them is trusted. Okay, so let's trust them. Okay, so now let's try to rerun that. Let's see, .NET. Yeah, notes. Oh, so what I use for notes is I typically use for like long-term stuff, for stuff I actually want to keep. I use Obsidian. That's my preferred tool of choice. And my favorite thing about Obsidian is that it has an Excalidraw plugin. That's probably my favorite thing about Obsidian. I mean, for the most part, Obsidian is really just Markdown notes, right? I mean, I know they have the fancy graph view that everybody talks about, which looks really nice, but practically speaking for me, I don't use it that much. Like sometimes I'll look at it, but I don't use it a ton. But it's really good for Markdown if you like taking notes in Markdown, and it's awesome because of the Excalidraw plugin. Because I use Excalidraw. I probably use Excalidraw too much. You know, if that's a thing, I probably use it too much. I need a new browser window. Today I want to do some work, plus maybe make my desktop look nice if I give a fuck. What kind of work are you gonna do? What's on the docket? What's on the docket? Oh, sorry, Luke, I missed your earlier question. How was the Vim learning experience? I'm considering trying it. I feel pretty proficient with VS Code and its shortcuts at the moment, but everyone praises Vim. So my Vim learning experience was, I've had people tell me I was slower at picking it up, and I've had people tell me I'm about normal. But I would say it took me probably 3 weeks of using Vim Motions every day to no longer feel like I was constantly tripping over my fingers. I still have a long ways to go, honestly. Like I still am not really the most efficient Vim foo person, but I try my best, you know? I try my best. I think I have to close my browser for it to recognize that I trusted that cert. But then that means my music's gonna stop. Okay, so this is the site that's gonna show up. So what I want to do is when they fill out this form, we're gonna click buy. That's gonna make a request to the backend. Then this is gonna render the Stripe form up here on the front side. Or the front end. So what we need to do is we need to have some way to swap the forms, basically. We also need a way to, let's see. We also need a way to load the key. So we need to do, let's see, load the Stripe SDK. Let's see, track, add state for secret, returned when submitting form. But yeah, the Vim experience was good. I personally, I don't think everyone needs to learn Vim. I personally think it's the best part. It was the best. Whether or not I continue to use NeoVim, using NeoVim was a worthwhile experience because it taught me how to use Vim Motions. And now I have Vim Motions set up on every editor I use. Writer, Visual Studio, VS Code. They all have Vim Motions set up in them now. So I think it's a worthwhile experience, but that's just one man's opinion, right? It's one 32-year-old dad's opinion. Let's see. What else do we need to do? I think that's it. So let's figure out what's the best way to get that key in here. I guess I need to add an environment variable or an env file, don't I? Divide test environment variables. So in your .env file, yep, and then I got to do veet something or other. Loading unprefixed variables. No, that's not. Here we go. That's what I'm looking for. So I want to do env.development.local. So .env.development.local. And then in here, I want to put my stripe. I have to prefix it, right, with veet stripe key. Because stripe has, you have two different keys when you use stripe. You have the private secret key, which you put on your server, and then you have the publishable public key that you stick on the front end. What happened to my Stripe documentation? Did I close that? I think I closed that window, didn't I? Let's see, Stripe, React, SDK. We have that installed. I don't think I need a checkout provider because I'm not using sessions. I think I just need the load the stripe and then the elements component is I think all I need. Today, data manipulation right now? Interesting. What kind of data are you manipulating? That makes me think of the Silicon Valley scene. The Silicon Valley scene where he's saying, I was listening to my friends talk about manipulating data. Let's see, like app, okay. Okay, so where do I get my starting off with some CSV stuff, kind of boring. So once this section is done, I'll probably move on to my own project. I don't know, you know, parsing CSV data can be exciting. Probably not the most exciting stuff, but CSV kind of makes the world go round, to be honest. Especially in corporate enterprise setting, comma separated data. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. You got to know how to work with it, you know? Let's see, Stripe, dashboard. There's my publishable key. There we go. All right, so I'll put that here. So that's my publishable key. Now, how do I access that in here? It's like, let's see, on Stripe equals load Stripe, and then we're going to do import dot meta dot env dot veet Stripe API key. I think. Is how we do that? See if it threw an error. Cannot read properties of undefined match. Okay. Do we have to restart the server? Probably. Debating, force myself from go through the web dev section. Why not? Well, you don't want to do the web dev section? Why not? I think web dev's great. I did spell it right. But it's not working. It's not working. The console. Yeah. Yeah, it's undefined. Why? So why is it undefined, folks? Why is it undefined? Is it because loaded in specified mode? So how do I set the mode? Do I need to set this? I should probably do it. I shouldn't falter. You should do it. I mean, it's fun too. I mean, in my opinion, it's fun. It's still undefined. Okay, so I'm doing something wrong because it's definitely there. I guess real quick, let me try just doing env.local maybe? There we go. Huh. So it's interesting. It only loaded it when. Huh. I'll have to do some thought about that because supposedly it's supposed to work for that development. You're supposed to be able to use different modes in Vite. So I don't know what I was doing. Supposed to be able to do env dot. Huh. Well, it's working now. So we have our Stripe API key loaded on the front end, which is good. So let's remove that guy. So now what we'd like to do is we basically like to say, okay, if we don't have a secret, if we don't have a client secret, then we're going to show my form, right? And if we do have a client secret, then we're going to initialize the Stripe form. Shiva, thanks for subbing. So let me just add another piece of state here. And let's call this secret and set secret. Whoops. Secret and set. What the heck, dude? Sometimes my tab completion doesn't quite work the way I want it to. See, like that's not working. I have to figure out what is screwed up in my setup there. All right, now instead of doing alert, right, let's assume we've successfully made a call to our backend, and now we're gonna set the secret to some value. Let me just copy one. So let's say we're gonna set it to that, and then I guess this is where in React we would have some sort of like if else thing happen in here. So we'd say if we have a secret, we'll do this. Otherwise, we'll do this. Freddie, thanks for subbing, man. I appreciate that. So if we have the secret, what are we going to do? So if we have the secret, that's where we want to display the stripe form. So how do we do that? So we say elements, options, we pass in the client secret, appearance, loader, and the stripe promise. So loader is set to auto, appearance is set to theme. And it looks like they're loading different routes there. I guess to handle callbacks maybe or something. I'm not really sure what that's about. I just want to see if I can get the form to render, you know? So let's see if we do that. Now, obviously, these don't exist. And let's assume this is going to be self-closing. And this is actually going to be stripe. We need to import elements from where? We import elements, I think, from the Stripe React. Import. All right, so hold on. Let me, instead of doing this, take that, put that here, delete this. Move that down here. And then the client secret is actually just going to be secret. The appearance I don't have yet. The loader I don't have yet. So let's set appearance is equal to theme stripe, I think is what they used in the docs. And then this is loader. I think this was auto, right? Auto. So why is that not working? Ruben Reed, finally I can chat. I've been waiting for so long. Hello, Ruben. Yes, you have to wait 5 minutes. I'm going to have so much fun today because I get to go down to my dad's today, and he has a game on his PC where you can crash cars. Well, that sounds like a blast, Ruben. I hope you have a ton of fun with your dad. I hope you have a ton of fun. I have too many windows open. So we have options, we have client secret, appearance, and loader. So why am I not getting that IntelliSense over here? think that now everyone's happy. Secret is declared, so do secret. So does this not have type support? Oh, it does. The payment secret for payment elements. Why don't you match? String null is not assignable to type. Oh. Fine. Now everyone's happy. And then they also specified the loader, which I'll set to always. And then they specified the theme, I think, right? Theme? No. Appearance. That's what it was. Appearance. And that was equal to stripe. Okay. So right now I'm just loading it on the page with my form, but what I'll do in the future is I'll swap them. So let's do this. Okay, so if we did 1, we should now have the secret being set. Let's see, options.client secret is not a mutable property. Oh, interesting. So you can't even render this. So you can't even render this until. Oh, sorry, you guys can't see this. So that's the error message I got. So that means that I basically can't render that form until I have a secret, which is kind of interesting. This should be valid React, right? Or valid JSX. This kind of expression is always truthy. No, it's not, because secret can be undefined. Why is that not working? Is my LSP messed up or something? Why is that not? Has it really been that long since I've written React that I don't know how to do this? don't understand. I don't understand. Alright, well, I just want to see this thing working. So, we're going to shortchange this for a second. Or short circuit it. This will be displayed in test mode but hidden in live mode. Please activate the payment types in your dashboard and ensure your account is enabled for any preview features that you are trying to use. Jay, thanks for subscribing, man. I appreciate it. Mochi Mochi. Do you use WebAssembly or just JavaScript? The only time I've used WebAssembly has been when I've used Blazor. So Blazor has kind of a complex hosting model. They have a server, and then they have client, and then now they have like a unified version. But I've only ever had the opportunity to work with Wasm when I've used a Blazor Wasm app. I've never used it outside that context. But it's a cool technology. I mean, I think it's really cool that you can run what is basically native code, right in the browser. But I know what's interesting is each language seems to have its own, what do I want to call it? Each language seems to have varying supports for WASM, right? Like C# has a pretty good WASM story, but like I think Go's WASM story isn't quite as good if I understand correctly. Okay, so why isn't my stripe element rendering? So it looks like it is actually. There's definitely something here. Yeah, it's not rendering. So do I have to put something inside of that elements form to get it to work? Oh, yes, I do. See, there's a checkout form here. Let's see, checkout form. What's in the checkout form? So we have a payment element. Show any error or success. Accordion. Card error. Confirm payment. That's the submission. Oh, so we actually get to handle this form as well. I didn't realize that. I thought their element just does all the work. But it doesn't. Okay. So we should probably do some refactoring, and let's pull my form into a separate component. This will be easier to work with. So let's pull my form into a second component. Or not a second component, a separate component. We'll still do this here, but what we're going to do is we're going to pull this form into a separate component. So let's do well, do I want to do that now, or do I just want to try to get it working? I kind of just want to try to get it working, but I feel like it's going to be kind of messy if we try to do it all right there. Let's just power through. Let's just deal with the ugly. Remember, it's always about getting it working, then getting it working nicely, right? Get it working, then make it pretty. So we won't have a handle submit form. Let's just drop this markup into our app. So we have to put it between the elements. That, and then let's just paste in what we copied. Now this is going to complain because we don't have this yet. We don't have the payment element. We don't have an is loading. So let's just do don't need that. We do need the payment element though. Payment element. There we go. We don't need the button, I don't think. Yeah, I don't care so much about the button. Or do I care about the button? So it looks like there might be some hooks in here too. Yeah, there's some hooks in here that we have to bring into use stripe and use elements. Oops. Use stripe, use elements. Then we'll say this is like one big giant monolithic component. See, is loading. I guess that's fine. And then payment element options. Where does that come from? Payment element options. Right here, layout accordion. So I can just inline that real quick. So we'll do layout. All right, let's see if that loads now, huh? Oh, something broke. Something broke. Let's see, it says it could not find elements context. You need to wrap the part of your app that calls use stripe in an elements provider. Okay. Which is why it needs to be in a separate component, or at least in their example, that's why it needs to be in a separate component, is because they are. So let's do stripe form.tsx, and we will do export default. Franz, thank you for subbing. That's very kind of you. It's very, very kind of you. Hope you're doing well. We'll just yank that. We'll go over here. We'll drop this. Come back to the app.tsx. We'll jump up to the top. We'll yank these guys. Do you guys ever watch the Primogen? And whenever he gets into the flow, that's how he starts talking. We're going to yank this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. We're going to get here. And you're like, whoa, buddy, whoa. Slow down, slow down. He would probably, if that guy ever watched me code, he would probably get so frustrated because I am so fucking slow. All right, so that's our stripe form. Let's remove this guy. Let's go back here and remove these. Remove that, and then we'll jump down here to the bottom, and this will now be our stripe form. So this is actually a provider, which is kind of interesting. So this is actually a context provider. in React. This is not just an element. This has some sort of context provider in it. To use the elements provider, they should have named this. They should have named it that. They shouldn't have named it just elements. They should have named it element provider. What do I know though? I'm just a guy in Kansas trying to make the Stripe SDK work the way I want it to. Hey, looky there! Let's go! Alright, so you can kind of see what I'm going for here, right? So eventually what'll happen is we will swap this with this, is what will happen. So they can do card, they can enter their information, it's like we can do cash, Amazon Pay, Klarna. These are not, these actually won't show up though, because I don't have them activated. So you can see there's a warning that shows up in the message that says, you have not registered or verified the domain, so the following payment methods are not enabled. Neither are these. Link, Cash App, Amazon Pay, Klarna. None of those are enabled. So I think in live mode, only the card one will show up, which is fine. This is also a test account. I'm not using my real Stripe account, so this is all test account stuff. But this is lovely. So now let's go back up here. And I guess the question kind of becomes, is there really a need to have two separate forms, or can all of my stuff live in this form and I just conditionally show and hide the pieces of the form based on whether there's a client secret or not? I think that might be the better approach here. I'm not sure exactly how I want to do that. So I'm going to get a cup of coffee and then I'm going to come back and see how exactly I want to set that up. I think what I want to do is I think I want to have just one form, right? And there'll be the initial thing, the initial fields that you see, which is my form. And then down here, this will be the payment element. And this one is only shown, let's see. This one is only shown when there's a client secret, or when there's a secret. And then this one is only shown when there's not a secret. And so the payment element will just take the place of my form, is what will happen. That's the plan. All right, coffee time, and then we'll come back and try to get that all working in one piece. I totally understand if you've been hanging out here this morning and you're like, hey, if this guy's leaving, I'm leaving too. Totally get that. I am gonna come back, so it's like a minute or two. I'm just gonna run upstairs and pull a shot of espresso. But if you're leaving, thank you for hanging out this morning. If you're staying, this might be a good time for you to go get a cup of coffee as well, or whatever your preferred hot caffeinated beverage of choice is. And I will be right back. Also, when I come back, if I start talking and you don't hear me, just spam mute in the chat. All right. I remembered to unmute myself. W. W. Okay. So we have our header. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to take this form that we have here. We are going to extract it. And we are going to put it here. Now this is going to complain. But what we're going to do is we're going to remove this guy. We're going to remove this. No, we're going to keep that. We're going to move this inside the form. Or inside this form. Here. We're going to remove this. We are going to then wrap this div. Right? And we are going to wrap this, or sorry, we're going to wrap this around this. And then we're also going to put a div around this guy. Then we need to bring all that logic from here? No. From here? Yeah, we need to bring all the logic from here to this form. Need to bring in, add all missing imports. Yes, sir. Remove type from import. Yeah. Okay. So this is the one where I actually kind of like Vue's show hide. Like I kind of like the v else directive in Vue better. But what we need to do is we need to come back here, app.tsx, and we need to remove all this stuff because this doesn't matter anymore. Oh, the secret has to be here. Okay, that's fine. So we'll do secret. This will actually live. Oh, interesting though. But the secret is going to be set in the form. So maybe these should be separate. You see what I mean? Because the secret has to be used to initialize the elements provider. But the secret is being set in the form, which means I'd have to pass. It's almost like I'd have to define the handles emit and pass it through to the child. I don't know how I feel about that. What do you guys think about that? That doesn't seem super intuitive to me. Because the difference between my setup and their setup is that the minute their form renders, they create a payment intent. They just automatically do it. And I'm deferring that until they actually provide me with an amount. So I guess there's a couple ways to do this, right? There's the secret is almost like a global piece of state, right? And so it needs to essentially be modifiable from more than one place, which is probably where you'd want to use the context API, but that's probably overkill for what we're doing here. You know? It's just one piece of state. It's only two components. So it's probably overkill to use the context provider, so it probably makes sense just to pass that, just have the child. Let's see what Gemini says about the best approach. Let's see, Gemini. Let's see. I'm writing. I'm actually going to switch this to fast too, so it doesn't take so long. I am writing a React app where I have a child. I have a parent component that needs a piece of state that is going to be set by a child component. What is the most React idiomatic way to handle this? Yeah, which is what I was saying, where I'd actually need to pass down. So I don't know how I feel about that, right? Because it's saying use the context API. Well, it's not really, we're not deeply nested, right? And the reason why I don't like this, though, is because basically what that means is I'd have to have a, let me rename this to, so the checkout form itself has all this state and logic, right? I don't want to define all of this up at the parent. But essentially at the parent, I'm needing to define the handles, what happens when we submit. Yeah. Let's just implement it the ugly way, and then maybe I'll think of a better way. Maybe I'll think of a better way. Maybe I won't, but maybe I will. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna say this has a component. Well, this component has some props, and those props are set secret. No, we want like on secret change. Yeah, I guess. But it's not really on secret change. It's more like on on submit, right? It's more like that. It's more like let's see, on submit. See, that's where this gets weird, because basically if we were to define the handler at the top level, the handler should do all of this. Yeah, I don't know how. I just don't know how I feel about the handler being defined outside the form. I know I'm overthinking this, but I don't know how I feel about that. Also, I'm going to rename this. This is going to now be called checkout form. Or actually, hold on. Not checkout. How about payment form? Couldn't you make a box for what you're worried about? Box, isolate the not what, and make it what you want? Yeah. I mean, it's not. Also, good morning, 6-7 Alaska. It's been a minute since I've seen you, man. How you been? So, I definitely can isolate things. It's more about my issue. The thing I'm not really worried about anything. It's more about, is it good code, right? Does it make sense? That's the thing I'm thinking about. Like, I know I can do it. I know how I can accomplish it without too much fuss. But it seems odd to me that the submission handler would be defined here and passed into the form. Let's see. I wonder what I'm just curious what, let's see, React should form take submit handler as, I mean, if you think about it though, right? If you really think about it, an HTML form has that type of API where the person defines the submission outside of the form, right? So if we're following that practice, then yeah, this should be like an on submit. Function submit. And then here, the problem is these hooks have to be called down here because they have to be passed to the payment element, don't they? Let's see, it is there, but you have to add boilerplate, which is easier. Multi-practice might be. We all learn from each other. I tell you what, 6-7 Alaska, when you show up in my chat, things get really interesting. I never know what you're gonna say. Okay. I think what I'm going to do is I'm not going to make this more complicated than it needs to be. So this is just going to be a set secret that takes a string, returns void. We'll come down here. We'll set the secret, which is great. Then what we're going to do is up here at the parent app, we're just going to pass through that function, that state function, to our form. And we're just going to live with this for the moment. And this is not checkout form, this is payment form. And we're just going to do it the easy way. Remove that. Now currently the secret is hard-coded. And so we're just going to use the secret to determine, let's see, type payment form props equals set secret and secret. Destructuring there. And then here we're going to use the secret down here to control which part of the form renders. So we're going to say if we have a secret, so let's just do hello. So obviously our button needs to be fixed. We have some styling stuff to fix there. The thing I don't understand though is why I can't use conditional. Every time I use a conditional in my React app, it breaks everything. Is this not how you do that in React? Oh, it's not double brackets. Whoopsies. I'm an idiot. That should work though. I should have a secret. Right? I should have a secret. Surprised I don't have a secret here. So there's our context provider. There's our payment elements. But where's the other bits of our state? Stay Frisk. Thanks for subscribing. Hello, ETN. Good to see you. How are you? So is that not getting passed down? But I think it is. Yeah, we're rendering that. What is our secret here? It's undefined. So why is our secret? Our secret's undefined because we're not passing it. Oh my goodness, I'm such a dummy. Yeah. Is that how you spell secret? Why does that look weird? Oh. Let's see, this can be undefined. Hey, there we go. Okay, cool. So now that we have that, we can come back here and we can basically say if there is a secret or if secret is undefined, right? I don't care. I know a lot of people in code like to use the bang operator like this. A lot of people like to do this. And I don't like that. I feel like it's very easy to miss that when you're looking at code. I feel like it's super easy to miss that bang operator. So I always just do a very explicit equals false or equals undefined or equals null. Just a style thing. I actually submitted a PR to an open source project. Actually, it was Playwright. When I was contributing to Playwright, I submitted a PR and I did that. And the first comment on the PR was one of the maintainers was like, please remind me to add a note to add a linting rule to disallow this in code. So he didn't like that I had done it like that. So I had to change it. It's really funny how everyone develops their own sensibilities around code. ETN, how's the Stripe integration? It's so far I'm making progress. I actually have the Stripe form rendering on the page and everything, so that's good. Huh? Is that secret an actual API key? No, so the secret that I'm showing right here is a client secret that you get when you create the payment intent. So it's actually only created when you actually create the payment intent on the back end, and then your back end hands this secret back to the front end. And this secret is what the Stripe SDK on the front end uses to talk to through the Stripe's element SDK to their site, right? Because their elements render, I think, like an iframe or something on your actual page. And so when the user is entering their information, they're actually talking directly to Stripe. They're not talking to our site. So I think this client secret is what coordinates that conversation, but it's ephemeral. I just have it hard coded here so I can screw around. Yeah. What was I doing? Oh, I was going to hide this part of the form. So we hide this part of the form. Otherwise, we show that part. Oops. Nice. All right, so this will start. Yeah, so let's start with the form with undefined. Man, it's been so long since I've written React. I have been tripping over my fingers all morning trying to figure out how to write React code. It's been pretty ugly. If you've been here and you've had to sit through it, I apologize. Thank you for being so kind and understanding. All right, so we have, so when we render our page now, right? So this is what we're going to show now. And then let's say I want to do an amount for 1, then I should click buy, and it blows up. And it blows up. It says in order to create a payment element, you must pass a client secret or mode when creating the elements group. All right, so where is that happening in the stack here? So that's actually down in the SDK. So I guess it's happening because I try to set the secret and then it must be it must be causing like a rendering, a timing thing, a sequence of events things. Definitely need to add an air boundary to this thing, don't I? So this is what's throwing, is this guy. So I need to ask some questions. So React elements provider set client secret later. Like that's basically what I'm trying to do. That's to use Stripe fetch asynchronously. You need to manage the secret in your component state and conditionally render the elements provider and its children once the secret is available. Damn. Which means crap. This basically means that we're back to needing 2 separate forms. Yeah, we're back to needing 2 separate forms. So we'll call this the payment form and call this the, I guess, the donation form, maybe? Oh, this is what I thought I needed to do originally, and then I went down a different... Okay, so basically what needs to happen is if we have all of this, right? So if we have our secret equals undefined, what we need to do is we need to... Jamie, thank you for subscribing. I appreciate that. If the secret's undefined, then we need to... Oops. We need to render our donation form. And if the secret isn't, or is, if a secret is defined, then we render all of this stuff that you see down here. Now the donation form doesn't exist yet, but it will. The problem is we also need to pass we also need to pass the... So basically now what we have to do is we have to communicate the state from the donation form to the state from the payment form. So we have to have some state up at the very top again, kind of like the secret. So we need to go into the payment form and we need to extract out this guy. Donation form like this, and we need to do export function donation form like this, and we'll do return We don't need this anymore. We don't need this anymore. We don't need this. We don't need that. So we're kind of back to where we were in our original form. And now we're going to take all of this. Not that, but all of this. We're going to bring this back to here. Sorry, I was just thinking. I lagged out there for a second because I was thinking, is this really necessary? And then it's like, yeah, it really is necessary. It's necessary, and there's not really a great way around it. So none of this will happen here. The only thing this will do is this will delegate the call. We'll say on submit. We'll pass the amount and the email. So the only thing this form will do is this form will take care of all the validation, and then it will just delegate to the outside world and say, okay, assuming everything's valid, I'm going to say on valid, submit, do something. So type donation form, that. And then up here in the app, this is where we'll define a function called handle valid, or I'm going to say handle donation form submit. Yep, like that. But we're not going to call the API just yet. Only thing we're going to do is we're just going to set the secret. So we'll say set secret to something. I'm going to use a bogus client secret. And then we're going to pass that to the donation form. On submit equals. This is complaining because I don't actually have an import for this. Why are you complaining? It's not assignable to type intrinsic attributes. Property on submit does not exist on type intrinsic attributes. What does that mean? Oh, on valid submit. That's what I was looking for. And the reason why I call it valid submit is I just want to denote that the validation of the elements in the form is already being done, right? So you can sort of, if you're passing in a function, you can just assume the amount and the email you're getting are valid. This could be undefined, actually. So the email is actually an optional thing. Could be optional. Sigit, thank you for subbing. I appreciate that very much. Very kind of you. Good morning, Wilo Gamer Pro. Good to see you. Why is this this triple equals abomination? What is this triple equals abomination? Dude, the triple equals, that's the way it is in JavaScript. You know, you got to really make sure something is equal to another thing. You got to really make sure. And so you always want to use that triple equal sign. Good morning, Wilo Gamer Pro. Good to see you. Hi, YouTube recommended your channel a lot to me the last few days. Love your content. Oh, thanks, Blut. Appreciate that, man. Hope you're doing well. Yeah, I'm hoping YouTube isn't shoving my content too aggressively at you, but it sounds like you've been enjoying it, so I guess that's good. I appreciate you stopping by the stream to say hi and leave such a nice comment. I'm all about having such kind and generous people show up in my chats. That's very kind of you. Type number or is not assignable to type number. Oh, interesting. Well, I am validating for that, though. So what's the best way to deal with that? This should never happen. I'm gonna say this should never happen. This should never happen because this actually should be if amount isn't, yeah. So we should be able to say at this point it is a number, but we need to tell the TypeScript compiler that it is a number because the validation happens in another function. So this really shouldn't ever occur. Actually, if it does occur, we should actually throw. This should never happen. Let's see. Amount after should never be an empty string. You know, the one feature I really wish they would bring to TypeScript so much is in C#, you have this ability to reference the names of things with the name of function. And so you can say name of amount, right? And so you could use that in an interpolated string. And if you ever change the variable name, then wherever you're referencing that, say in a string somewhere, maybe a log message or I don't know, some piece of UI, if you change that variable or that property, it'll be reflected in that string, right? I really wish this existed in TypeScript. Jack Willman, is that NeoVim? Yes, this is NeoVim. Yep, this is indeed NeoVim. Okay, no data is not used yet. Let's see. Form data. Now let's try this again. So now what we're doing is we have donation, and then we only render once the secret is set, and then we pass that to the payment form. The payment form no longer needs this, though. No longer needs that stuff. The only thing it needs is the hooks. And we can get rid of all this validation logic, all this. We don't need to set the secret in here anymore. We don't need... We do need the form. But we don't need any of this. can basically get rid of all that. Podilla, thanks for subscribing. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you. And we'll just say for now, we'll just say function, and we'll submit. We'll just say console.log. We submitted the payment form. Yeah, I think that's right. Now let's try doing this one more time. So we're here, we put in our amount, we don't care about having a receipt, so we're not going to put an email in there. I really should add some sort of blurb that's like optional only if you want an email, or only if you want a receipt or something. We did it. We did it. Huzzah! I'm good. How about you? I'm getting my first job in software engineering as a student soon. Wonderful. That is very exciting, man. I'm really glad to hear it. I'm really excited, but also afraid I can't meet their expectation. Do you have some advice for people starting in this field? Okay, so I don't think that is particularly unique to starting in software engineering. I think that's how you feel when you start in any field. You're always going to feel like the imposter, right? You're always going to feel like you don't have the skills or the knowledge to do X, Y, Z well enough, or that you're not going to, meet somebody else's expectation. The way I've solved that in my own life is I try to make sure that I have very clear expectations of myself, and I know what I want to accomplish personally, and I try to set those expectations very high, and I try to just reach for those expectations. And if I know that I did my best, that I worked as hard as I could, that I tried to leave it all in the field, regardless of the outcome, I can go to bed at night and sleep easy, right? So that's how I kind of solve it. Is I try to do my work as so that it's a reflection on me, less so that it's a reflection on the people I'm working for. If that makes sense. I try to, yeah. Like I always tell people, like I care far more about like my own personal brand and what people think about working with me. Like I want people, like let's say, how do I put this? Let's say you're picking teams for a game, right? I want to be like one of the first people picked to be on a team. So I try to operate in my professional life so that will be a thing, right? So that people will think, oh, Steven, I want Steven on my team. Because he does a good job, because he follows through, because he's a good communicator, he does what he says he's going to do, right? Like all these things. And so when I think about how I show up in my job and in my work, I just use that as my North Star. And I know that as long as I'm doing those things, likely good stuff is going to happen. So I would worry less about living up to their expectations, and I would worry more about living up to yours. I mean, obviously that's assuming you can place high expectations on yourself. I don't know if you're somebody who can't hold yourself to a high standard anyways, well then I'm not sure I have very good advice to give you. That's a whole separate conversation. All right, cool. And then I guess now what we can do is we can actually see if we click this button here. Click the button. Oh, it actually submitted it. That's not what we want. So we have to do... let's see, in React there's not modifiers, is there? So that we need to actually... we actually have to prevent that ourselves, don't we? So we have to say... event... Whoops. Event... Then we have to say event.prevent STE. All right, let's try that again. That's funny. Okay, so this is going to be 1 by, that loads the form, and then we're going to click pay now, and now we have our form submission. Booyah! So now we actually have to handle the form submission using the Stripe object. I think this is what we use. I think this has like a confirm Stripe dot confirm payment. Yeah, I think this is what we're gonna call. Cool. Well, that's pretty cool, man. We got that figured out. Alvaro, thank you for subbing. Appreciate it. That makes sense. Thank you for your solid advice. I really appreciate it. Yeah, of course, man. I don't know if my advice is good. I always just try to answer people here like I would answer if I was talking to one of my sons. You know, if my sons were, if we were 20 years into the future and I'm a 50-year-old man and my son is 25 or 30 and he's trying to navigate his career and his future and he's coming to me for advice, I just try to answer the same way I would talk to them. It's good practice for me because I know eventually I'm going to have these conversations with them at some point. So, and largely the advice I'm giving is just based on how I've navigated things, you know, in my own career. Etienne, exactly. Provided you can set realistic yet challenging expectations for yourself, it should transfer well to what your team / boss expects of you. Exactly. Like if there's big, I mean, my advice sucks. If there's big misalignment of expectations between yourself and your company, obviously that's going to create tension. The thing though that I think what's interesting is I think it's most valuable having expectations of yourself is most valuable because it helps you understand when you encounter expectations from an employer that you feel in your heart are not realistic, and it's a good way to get a sense of when it's time to make a change, right? When it's like what I want for myself and what I want for my career wholly is different than what you desire from someone in this position, and so it's also a good litmus test to help you figure out like, yes, am I doing a good job, but also help you figure out when maybe this isn't the right place for you or these aren't the right people you want to work with in the long term. So I think it's also helpful for that as well. Do you recommend university or entrepreneurship? I don't recommend either, I guess. I just recommend people doing what they want to do with their life, right? So I think regardless if it was university or entrepreneurship, I think my first piece of advice would be don't go into debt for your future. Don't take out student loans. I did it. It was a mistake. I shouldn't have done it. Don't take out student loans. If you're going to start a business, try to bootstrap your business. I mean, I think that's my only real my only real advice in any amount to anybody is spend less than you make, invest the difference, and what you want to do besides that is up to you. Like as long as you take care of your financial well-being, how you want to approach building your life, I think is kind of open for you to decide. But I don't think you should leverage your financial well-being to pursue entrepreneurship or university. I think it's a bad idea. It's a bad idea. I bought the Rust for Rustations book. Nice. You'll have to tell me how that is because I've started trying to learn Rust recently, using a Pluralsight course, and it's going well. I just haven't dedicated enough time to it. But if you really enjoy that book, I'd love to hear what you think about it when you're done. I'm sorry, 6'7" Alaska. I'm so lost in your conversation, but I'm glad you're here, man. I'm glad you're here. But it makes sense. I did code for a couple years now. but never professionally. I catch myself being bored at uni. I feel like there's a huge difference between uni and professional coding. Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure. And that's that's any field. If you would have the same experience if you were studying business and then went to be a salesperson, or if you were studying biochemistry and you went to be a bench scientist in a microbiology lab for a food company. There is just a difference between academia and industry, and it's always like that. There's no at this point, unless we significantly change our approach to the university system here in the United States. And I'm assuming, Blatt, you're in the United States. You might not be, but unless we change that system, there's always going to be that disconnect. There's a free one called the Programming Rust book. Then mine is for intermediate/advanced level. Okay, so I'll have to try the the Rust programming language book first, then, because I'm definitely not intermediate or advanced. I'm like whatever's below a beginner at Rust. That's what I am. That's where I am. Well, I'm from Germany. I feel like the material you learn is not too different from U.S. unis. Oh, for sure. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure the material's the same. I just in the U.S. I don't know how it is in Germany, but in the U.S. I can definitely speak to the fact that there is a disconnect between the education you're taught and the work you end up doing. The only place where I feel like that's not the case, at least in undergraduate programs, is nursing. I have several family members who are nurses, and I've been kind of in their lives as they've gone through nursing school. And that's the one bachelor degree that when I look at what those people did during their undergraduate degree, there is a very clear mapping from like the nursing education to the nursing work, in my opinion. Like there's definite overlap. Like in nursing education here in the States, like they actually have to do like clinical work as part of their degree program. But like as like a biochemistry major, I never had to go work in an actual lab in an actual company setting. So there's just like it's a real weird. I'm not sure why that's not more of the case in degree programs. Edian. Yeah, all these linked list exercises don't really help when coding a microservice for your company's software. Yeah, that's you mean that leak code problem isn't helping you deal with unsafe user input? That's funny. I will say, isn't so, Blut, you're in Germany. Let me hold on. Before I make a fool out of myself, let me look something up. Um, so there is this guy. I don't know if you're aware, Blut, of a company called Shopify. There's this company called Shopify, and the CEO, his name's Toby Lutke or Tobias Lutke, and I think he's from Germany. So I mean, obviously, I know you guys don't probably know each other or anything, but in interviews that I've heard of him, he talks about how part of his degree was part of his education was he went and basically did like an apprenticeship at a business as a programmer. And I thought that was really cool. So I wanted to ask you, since you're from Germany, is that a common thing in your guys' education system? Like, can you just go and like at 15 go get an apprenticeship at a company? Yeah, this says he entered an apprenticeship program at the Koblenzer Karlben School to become a computer programmer after 10th grade. So he would have been like probably 16 years old, 15, 16 years old. Because that's pretty cool. See, it's relatively common in France, but once you're past high school level education, oh, interesting. I think that's pretty freaking awesome. I mean, if I was 16 years old and I could go and do an apprenticeship in like an actual business, I think that would be pretty freaking awesome, you know? Because I think I think that's the part of education that we miss so much is there's very few opportunities that are built into the US education system where you're actually exposed to what the day-to-day work is like for a particular profession, right? You have to go seek that out yourself. Like when I was in high school, I remember I went and shadowed 2 or 3 orthopedic surgeons because that's what I thought the kind of doctor I wanted to be. But I mean, imagine doing that for all kinds of different jobs. You could do it for programmers, for mechanics, for millwrights, for salespeople, for any name it, right? Name it, and set up some sort of internship program or apprenticeship program where, as a part of your high school, education, you actually go and you go to a place and you help them do whatever they do at that place. But the benefit to you as an individual is you get exposed to what that job is really like. So you can figure out if you hate the job, don't like the job. You know what I mean? I feel like that would be very helpful. 199 love apprenticeships. Yeah, I feel like that would be super, super helpful. In my opinion, Rust isn't hard. It's more that it forces you to learn higher concepts like ownership and lifetimes in parallel. I can't wait to know more Rust because sometimes when I hear people talk about it, like what you said just now, I understand the ownership, but I don't understand the lifetimes. So I'd love once I know more Rust, I'd love to be able to participate in a conversation with somebody about it. Let's see. My dad started his apprenticeship when he was 16 years old. Today, it's not that common. You focus on school first and usually start with 17 to 19 with uni or apprenticeship. Macadamia, thank you for subscribing. I see. Well, I think the fact that apprenticeships are even a thing is probably a huge plus. We don't have much of an apprenticeship model here in the United States, and I think it's negative. It's a negative thing. When an only negative is so many cores don't want to invest in people anymore. Well, that's terrible. Oh, so many corps. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we're in the age of AI, right? So we really don't want to invest in people. We would much rather build an agent to do that. Hire a 16-year-old kid? No, build an agent. ETN lifetime equals scope, I think. Oh, okay, cool. So how long does something live, I guess, or where is it accessible from? Outside of those two things, Rust is much simpler C++. Okay, cool. Lifetime is different from scope, but not sure how to explain it. Well, I guess I'll have to dive into some of this Rust education myself, won't I? Didn't Salesforce admit that AI isn't what they expected and they're having to rehire people? Okay, I saw that headline somewhere, and I actually was going to make a video about it. But then when I started digging into it, it seems like there's not really any good, right? Like I saw this I think this was the post I saw. But if you actually go into this article, they actually don't cite anything really. Like there's nothing in here that actually denotes that they regret firing. Like I was trying to track down like an actual statement by Mark Benioff or somebody. So it says in recent internal discussions and public remarks, senior leaders at Salesforce acknowledged that the company was too confident. But like where are they getting that information? Uh where like I don't know where they're citing this. And I don't know if is this a reputable site? I've never seen this site before. So I couldn't. This was the only place that I saw this being reported, and I couldn't find like an actual primary source where somebody said these things or Mark Benioff said such things. So I didn't end up making a video about it because I thought, well, I don't want to misrepresent. Because this right here says, like, if you believe this quote right here, this is not a critique of AI. This is very much a we are using AI. And I don't know where they got this quote from. So yeah, I'm skeptical. I'm skeptical of if that is actual valid reporting. Here's Hacker News, but this is the same article. It says, I checked and this appears to be the source. Let's see. After claiming to redeploy 4,000 employees automating their work with AI agents, Salesforce admit we were more confident. Yeah, this is where I ended up yesterday too. So basically in this article what they're saying is they're not saying that they're not confident in generative AI. What they're saying is that we're pivoting from generative AI to agentic AI. Right? So it says the company is now emphasizing Agentforce can help eliminate the inherent randomness of large models. So somehow this article got translated to Salesforce regrets their AI usage. And I don't think that's really what Salesforce is saying. I think Salesforce is saying large language models are undeterministic, and so you should buy Agentforce instead. I think that's really what's being said. ETN, it'd be kind of funny if the article was written by AI as a PR move to make Salesforce look less of an evil corp. Yeah, that would be funny. Ola Depo Dev. Hello, Ola Depo. How are you? 199. I was baited. I was almost baited too, because I literally came downstairs into my office fully prepared to make a video about it. And then as I was digging around trying to find like sources to show on screen while I was making a video about it, I couldn't find Mark Benioff actually saying any of those things. So then I was like, wait a minute. I think I'm getting taken for a ride here. It happens. It happens. You know, the internet, it's just like I was talking with my folks yesterday. We were talking about AI and how it's becoming harder and harder every day to tell if something's real or not. I think the key to navigate that in this internet age, right? The internet age of not knowing if things are real, the key to it is you basically have to have a default position that everything is fake, and then you need to work to prove that it's not fake. That's the only real way to kind of protect yourself from sharing misinformation or being fooled by stupid stuff. Ola de Podev. How do you set up your stream? I use OBS. Yeah, I just use OBS. In OBS, you have the ability to set your canvas. And so I just set my canvas to 1080 by 1920. So basically just turned on its side. And then I lay out the canvas like you would any other live stream. I'm supposed to be trying to figure out how to have a horizontal and a vertical stream because chat really wants both. So I need to spend a little bit of time figuring that out. I think where I landed yesterday is I'm going to use the Adium plugin, and I'm going to have a vertical stream and a horizontal stream, but the horizontal stream I think is going to be unlisted, and I'll just share a link to it. And if people want to go watch on the horizontal stream, they can, but I'd really like the vertical to be what YouTube pushes into people's feeds. RayX. Lifetimes as a concept are more like generics for scopes in that you describe how the lifetimes of parameters relate, and the compiler builds a function that satisfies those requirements for each invocation. Interesting. That's fascinating. I can't wait to learn more about that. Bob Knoll, I heavily embrace AI, but when I see people faking news with AI, I get really angry. Yeah, it's unfortunate, right? It's unfortunate that everything in life comes with huge upside and tremendous downside, and there's just no way to separate the two. There's very few things in life that are all positive, you know? Talking about checking if something is AI. Steven, how many R's are there in strawberry? Are you guys saying that in order to prove I'm not AI at the beginning of every stream, or maybe every so many minutes during a stream I need to solve a CAPTCHA? Which I don't know. Can LLMs solve CAPTCHAs? Maybe they can. Somebody's gonna create a YouTube channel with a fake AI persona, you know? Like you see the VTubers like Burnt Peanut, you know? Those are VTubers are becoming really popular, it seems like. Somebody's gonna make an AI VTuber. He's gone. Bob, he didn't answer bot. Guys, there are 3 R's in strawberry. There are 3 R's. I promise. I'm not a bot. I'm not AI. I'm a real human being. Busy Slim, have an MCP tool to count how many letters in a word. You probably could. Yeah, you probably could. Or maybe you could transcribe. Like, I know some CAPTCHAs have audio, so maybe you can transcribe the audio to figure out what you're supposed to enter. Well, I appreciate you guys believing me. I swear I'm real. I swear. Which is what the AI would say if it wanted me to think it wasn't an AI. Very suspicious. That way lies madness. Alright, let's do checkout form. Don't need that anymore. Yeah, I don't think we need it. I don't think we actually need any of that. Yeah, I think we can actually... I think I was mistaken. I don't think we need... Sorry. Let me go to the payment form. Let me paste this in there. We don't need any of this. Don't need any of that. His system prompt probably told him how many R's are in strawberry. Are you able to build a fully functional website like Airbnb with zero experience using ChatGPT? You could probably get really far, Ewan. I think the hardest part about using ChatGPT for that would be the deployment, right? Versus if you're using something like Replit or maybe Base 44, or some of these other products that sort of help you cross that chasm between local development and something that's publicly accessible. you could probably get pretty far, right, with ChatGPT until you needed to actually get your thing packaged up and deployed, right? Because you'd probably have to ask ChatGPT for instructions about like, okay, great, I built all this stuff. Now, how do I build it, and where do I put it, and how do I set up a website with a domain, and all that. That probably would be the hardest part, I think, with ChatGPT. Um, the other thing you might struggle with it with Airbnb, with recreating a website like Airbnb, is you might struggle with the payment functionality, right? You might struggle with security. You might struggle with scalability. I can see those three things. So like deployment, payments, or I guess that's four things: deployment, payments, security, and scalability. I could see all four of those things being like things that ChatGPT might fall down on for you. But getting a working version of it, you'd probably get pretty far. I mean, it seems like these models are pretty capable of generating fairly well, fairly, what's the word? Fairly functional websites and web apps. We all are AI at some point. Yeah, I guess. Not really though. We're humans. We're not AI. Rayex. I despise AI. I've taken courses on it, taught by some pretty big names on the academic side. It's not magic. It won't solve a quarter of the problems the tech bros insist it will. I think I kind of lean to your position, Rayex. I don't think I despise AI, but I don't think it's as or I don't think. Let me hold on. Let me walk back. Large language models. I'm gonna say that. So you said AI. I'm gonna say large language models. I don't think large language models are going to solve as many problems as the tech industry wants us currently to think they will solve. I do think large language models are very cool technology that make that have a lot of utility in a lot of different situations and a lot of different use cases. I also don't despise them. If we now say general artificial intelligence, right? If we say something that's truly general artificial intelligence, that probably, I think, will have a huge impact on the world. But I think we're a long ways away from that. No, but it will make them money. Yes, it will. Well, it will make them a lot of money until the bubble bursts, and then a lot of people will lose money. So hopefully, those people who made a lot of money will remember to take their profits before the bubble bursts. See you, Etienne. Have a good day, man. Thanks for hanging out. Reacts. In the meantime, it's burning money, water, and memory. It's definitely burning all three of those things. For sure. For sure it is. But maybe this LLM craze, or this AI craze currently, maybe the one benefit is it will drive capital investments in infrastructure, in electricity and data centers. And maybe that means that whenever the next iteration of this AI technology, whatever that is, maybe that means we will be in a better position from an infrastructure perspective to take advantage of it. Maybe we can have some positive outcome. I think we're going to end up with a lot of pain because of it, but maybe on the other side of that pain, there will be some benefit. Maybe that's the optimistic way to look at it. The only legitimate use for LLMs, in my opinion, is Copilot making the Win32 API docs remotely digestible. I don't know. I love LLMs for generating documentation. I love LLMs for documenting my code. I like using LLMs to rubber duck with. I like using LLMs to ideate with. I've had a lot of fun with LLMs generating images. That's been a lot of fun, just because I'm not the best graphic designer. I don't think LLMs replace graphic designers. I think that's one of my biggest beefs with the AI craze, is people who want to use LLM's capabilities to just wholesale replace entire groups of professionals. I just don't believe in that. I think LLM should be a tool that helps those professionals do their work better, but I don't think the end goal should be trying to replace those people with versions of themselves rebuilt as a series of prompts in an agent. I don't think that's a good in state. Hello, the J Coco. I think that's how you say your name. The J Coco. All right, I'm gonna refactor this a little bit because I thought I was gonna need the email and the amount, but I don't need the email and the amount. So we can actually handle the submission here. Handle submission. Oh wait, nope, we didn't do that. We didn't do that. I'm wrong. So this is where we need to do. We need to call the backend and get the secret. That's why we need that there. And the payment form doesn't need any props passed into it. And then make sure to change this to your payment complete return. What's the best way to, so this is another thing we need to consider. Where should we redirect to? So we only have a spa right now. We only have spa. So maybe we can just do like success. We're gonna have to do something like this. It's gonna look really ugly, but we're gonna need to do something like this. And then we're gonna have to handle that back up here at the app. We're gonna have to handle to do handle rendering when query params are, yeah. We could add React Router, but I think React Router is kind of overkill, in my opinion. People who use LLMs don't afraid of them. I don't think it's so much people are afraid of them. You know, I think people, I don't know if it's so much that people are afraid of them. I'm not afraid of LLMs. I just don't think they're going to be as revolutionary as people want them to be revolutionary. My experience with LLMs, whenever I've tried to use them, like I spent the last 24 months at work doing a lot of work with our AI implementation there. And the thing you always run up against when you start talking about using AI to facilitate actual human beings' workflows is human beings have a really low tolerance for non-determinism, especially when it comes to getting their job done. And getting an LLM, getting a probable Hudo Tech, thank you for subscribing. Getting an LLM to do things in a very deterministic way requires a lot of effort. And it's not a lot of effort going from like 0 to 90%. It's going from like 90 to 95% or 95% to 100%. It's that last mile problem with an agentic solution that's really difficult to cross. And human beings are so used to software just always working. They like push a button, it always works. It always works. And when something doesn't work, human beings find it very frustrating. Um, and I think I personally think that's why a lot of AI implementations at the moment, the most successful AI applications at the moment, are chat applications and coding applications, because those tasks and those workflows are inherently tolerant of non-deterministic outcomes. But I think in other worlds, like, auditing, accounting, things where there's real consequences when you get things wrong or things get screwed up, I think the tolerance is much lower. Is it really 7:40? Wow, this is very late. All right, well, I think my family has woken up, so I should probably call it for this morning. How many people are here? We got 80 folks here at the end of the stream. This is nice. Okay, so if you're new here, my name's Steven. Welcome to my stream. RayX, it's mathematically impossible to get LLMs to be determined. I know it's mathematically impossible. The problem is that's what we're all doing. Like, that's what all we're doing. That's what we're trying to do with agents. Is we're basically trying to take a thing that's non-deterministic, and we're trying to put all this prompting and all these guardrails and all this code around it to facilitate these workflows that we need to be deterministic, right? And so that's why it's kind of comical when you think about it, right? It's like we built this thing, this awesome piece of technology that's inherently non-deterministic, and now we're trying to apply it to solve problems that we need determinism in. And so we're building all these frameworks and prompts and all kinds of craziness to make it work. It's kind of nuts. Hello, Holy Excalibur. How are you? I think this is a new paradigm of how humans interact with a website, but human in the loop right now is necessary. How humans interact with a website. Yeah, I don't know. I don't really think there's going to be I don't really believe there will ever be a web that's all AI first. I just don't think that's how human beings want to use the web, but I could be proven wrong. I think AI will definitely open the door to new types of interaction, but I still think a human's always going to want to still interact with something tangible. I don't think every human being wants every interaction facilitated through talking to an LLM. Yeah, I don't want to go to Amazon and shop by talking to an AI. I want to scroll. I want to see pictures. I want to read reviews. I don't want to like talk to an LLM to shop on Amazon. The sad thing is we had AI solutions for deterministic problems. Yeah, but the thing is LLMs, right? LLMs were our pursuit of a generalized form of AI, right? So those solutions you're talking about, they were very specific, solve a very specific problem, right? And so again, I think that's where LLMs are sort of an interesting technology that have a lot of use cases in certain areas, but now we're trying to take that technology and we're trying to jam it into places where it's probably not quite the right technology, but there's so much money and so much investment in it, and so many people's money is now dependent on its success that we're trying to use it to do all these things it probably isn't the best suited to do. You guys, I was trying to wrap up, and then you guys take me on another tangent. This is all right. My folks are here, so I'm gonna get off stream and go hang out with them because I think people are up. I hear footsteps above me. If you're new here, again, my name's Steven. Welcome to my stream. If you're new here and you'd like to visit us again while I'm live, I'll put my schedule in the chat. My schedule is 4:15 in the morning to about 7 o'clock in the morning most days. and that's Central Standard Time. So if you're in the US, I get it. It's very early. Completely understand. Um, if you want to interact with me or anybody from chat outside of the stream, the best place to find us is in our Discord. I'll put the link to that in the chat. It's just discord.stephenfreeborn.com. Super easy to remember. As far as content that you can expect from my streams, this is pretty much the kind of content. So when I say code, coffee, and chat, that's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna do something that I'm interested in related to code and programming and technology. And while I do that, I'm gonna drink coffee and talk to you guys. That's the only thing I can guarantee you. So if that sounds like something you want to do, you want to come and just hang out and drink your coffee alongside us and just hang out, you're more than welcome. If it's not for you, I totally get it. No worries. As far as I guess as far as near term, we're gonna keep doing this Stripe thing. I also started a new project that I'm really excited to talk to you guys about, but I want to get it done before I show it to you because it's going to look really cool when I show it to you. I spent all day yesterday hacking on it, so I can't wait to demo that for you. Okay, that's it. That's all I have to say. Holy Excalibur, seems like I was a bit late today. Yes, typically you are a bit late. You are indeed a bit late. But that's okay. You can come tomorrow maybe and show up earlier and you'll get to hang out longer. So yeah, so if I don't see you tomorrow morning in the stream, maybe I'll see you in the comments of the video or a short. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a great rest of your Sunday. And if it's already Monday for you, have a great rest of your Monday. And I'll talk to you guys later. All right, see you, Holy Excalibur. Bye, RayX. Bye, 6-7 Alaska. Appreciate you hanging out here, man. Bye, the J Coco. Who else is here? Bob Knoll. See you, Bob. Etienne already left, I think. Yep, I think that's everybody. Okay. Bye, chat. Bye, guys. Bye. See y'all. Hope you guys have a great day.